to another OGDuffy versus video. Now this time we're not doing a one-on-one versus. Yes, we're looking at 4 different systems. Now we're looking at Target Renegade. Now this was a follow-up to the original Taisho arcade game release, which was simply named Renegade, but this was a follow-up. So basically, when they'd done the coin-op conversions, I think it was Ocean Software, and they used the Imagine name the game, and Taisho released it for the Nintendo Entertainment System. But when they got the rights to do the coin-op conversion, they also negotiated that they could produce some more Renegade games that were not based on the arcade game, so they could have a bit of a free reign, if you like. So this was the second in the trilogy. So you had the original Renegade game, and then we had this Target Renegade. Now, as I say, we're doing the versus systems on 4 systems. So we're looking at the ZX Spectrum, the Commodore 64, the Amstrad CPC, and the Nintendo NES systems. So we're throwing in a bit of a console on this one, alright? So we're going to look at all 4 systems. I'm going to show you sort of, try and get the same sort of levels for each. And I'll do a bit of a chat over the top, and then pop back and I'll give you my verdict. Okay, this is the Amstrad version. To be absolutely honest, back in the day I wasn't a huge fan of the Amstrad system. I was more a Commodore and a Specky type guy. But this was a very, very good version of this game. The graphics were good, the sound was good, and what it had over the Commodore 64 version was it was able to do double players at the same time, dual play. The C64 version and the NES version both failed on this front, which was a major part of the game. But for an Amstrad game, this was very, very well received and was a very popular game back in the day. So, you know, a very good turnout on the whole for the Amstrad system. They did very well. And as you can see here, this is the final level here, taking on the boss. What more can you say? A good, solid, all-round game. Thoroughly enjoyable, and like I say, had the benefit of dual players. Here we go, the Nintendo Entertainment System takes a turn, and as you can see, it was a good game. It had issues, but the main positive from this was the absolute brilliant music. The game music put to this was awesome. Characters all look very similar. They're a bit like Brett the Hitman Hart, if you ask me, from back in the day. And it glitched in places, this game. It was like your sprites would half disappear and things like that. It wasn't a bad version. It just didn't play as well as some of the others. But, you know, it was a Nintendo special. It come out, Taisho released this, and it wasn't done by US Gold, or sorry, Ocean, should I say. Got that wrong there. But so, and this was strange because, as you can see here, you got the last boss of the game, and this is the boss you come to at the very end. And for some strange reason, they made him really small, because the boss's name in the game is Mr. Big. But look at the size of him. He's tiny. What was that all about? I think it was a bit of Taisho having a bit of a giggle really on that front. But NES version, brilliant sound, so well played with that, folks. Great sound effort. Here we go, the Commodore 64. Now, in typical Commodore 64 style, you can see the graphics here are very sort of 64ish, you recognise them anywhere. The SID chip did a great job of producing yet another great Commodore 64 soundtrack. And as you can see here from Zap magazine back in the day, they gave it a very solid 84%, which was a great review. Now, as I already mentioned about the NES version, and the Commodore 64 version, both struggled in relation to they were single player only. Now this game on the Amstrad and the Specky benefited from dual play, and that really did make a difference. You had your mates round, and you could both play the same game at the same time and have great co-op fun with it. But needless to say, this is a Commodore 64 version, and as you can see, here's the boss, Mr. Big.
and it was slightly large on this, and I did like the little touch there of a tattoo on the forearm to show his toughness. Mate, if only all tattoos were as precise as that one, eh? But there you go, that's the C64. Here we are, this is the ZX Spectrum version. Now this is the 48K version, not the 128. I think the 128K version had a soundtrack and stuff running along during the game. But I think it's only fair we stick to the original. Now, as we can see here, Crash Magazine made it a crash smash. This here, another brilliant review. This got rave reviews from all the Sinclair magazines back in the day. And as you can see, rightly so, I mean, it played handsomely. There was a lot of action going on, a lot of characters on the screen at one time, and a lot of action. It just worked really well. The graphics were sharp, the sound was not particularly bad, and although, you know, the Spectrum had major limitations in colour clash and the rest of it, it didn't really show up too badly here. This absolutely played brilliantly. As you can see here, this is the end of level boss. This was the Mr. Big for the Spectrum, but again, it had that dual player, and that made all the difference to the whole situation, you know what I mean? So where Nintendo NES system and C64 fell down was the dual player, but strangely the Amstrad and the Spectrum both managed to pull this off. Great effort.
So there we go. What did you think? Let me know in the comments. Let me know what you thought about all four of them versions. Which one was your personal favourite? Which ones do you remember playing? Which ones did you own, etc. Okay? Now, also, hit that subscribe button and the little bell if you can, because it really does make a difference. And I really appreciate you doing it, guys. Thank you very much. So, onwards and upwards. On to my verdict. Who takes it? So, firstly, let's take a look at the NES version. Now, the music for this, the video game music for this was really, really good. And that was the best thing about it, alright? The quality music was brilliant. But the gameplay was a bit lackluster, and the graphics and stuff, as you can see, was a bit glitchy in places. You sort of throw a kick in your body and half disappear and things like that. It didn't flow particularly well compared to some of the others. So, for my reasoning, the NES version comes in on 4th position out of 4. But with a bit of commendation for your music soundtrack. You did great tune. Right, coming in on 3rd, Commodore 64. Yes, I'm sorry. Please don't hate on the video. It's just my opinion. It's just my verdict. Don't hit the dislike because I didn't name the C64. But do let me know in the comments why you know, disagree, etc. Now, the C64 was a great machine. But when you have friends over and you wanted to play this as a duo and 2 of you playing at the same time, the C64 version wouldn't allow it. It was only 1 player at a time. There was no dual player. So, for that reason, I've had to knock it down a bit. The music was good, the sound effects were good, and it was colourful, and it was the usual Commodore 64 type game graphics and stuff, and it was very good. But for me, personally, it come 3rd this time, alright? If you agree, let me know. If you disagree, tell me why. Now anyway, 2nd position goes to the Amstrad CPC. Yes, this is going to be very debatable. And I can tell you what, I voted with my heart on this one, not my head. Alright, the Amstrad version was absolutely awesome. The sound, the graphics, the gameplay and everything were really, really good. So I can't fault it at all. But for me, the #1 version is the ZX Spectrum. And I'll tell you why. At the time, we were going to the arcades, me and my pals, and we were playing Double Dragon. And playing this at home on your little 8-bit computer was brilliant. And it was as close as you could get at the time to having that arcade experience that you paid a lot of money for. But you bring it home, and it was a very well done well, not even a conversion, a video game in its own right by Specky standards. Yes, it had the colour clash. Yes, it had a few issues. But they managed to have a tune going on, and it just got busy, and it played really well. It just flowed really well. So, well done Spectrum, you win this versus one. But everyone else, a great commendation to you all. I think they all did well. They were all great systems. Now, if you don't already do so, please subscribe, because I'll be producing videos every week. Okay, so come check me out. Thanks for watching. I've been OGDuffy. See you next time. If you watch the video and you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe for more great videos. Thanks for watching.